Hello, hello. Hi, this is the District 5 neighborhood meeting. We're going to go ahead and get started. So if you want to find a seat and such. My name is Soraya Hillam. I am the current board chair and am finally here again, which is great. And so we are very glad to have you all here and that you're involved in coming out and helping with our downtown areas that we have so much in common and we're able to work together to get some good things done. We wanted to start with an introduction of the different representatives from our different neighborhoods within our district. Some of those are new because we have just recently had new appointees where the very first group when this started, they're phasing out. And they've got alternate, each neighborhood has a couple of representatives and they phase out in alternating 2-year increments. So I'm still on it because I've been 2 years, but I was put in as a 4-year. And I know that the other one in Maeser, Crystal Vomisil, is not able to be here. So just because I'm up here, even though I'm closer to the end, I'm introducing myself to begin with. I'm in Maeser neighborhood. I've been involved for a really long time here, and I know a lot of you here, which is really great. And so we'll go on. The next person is Michael Roberts here, or Eric Davis from the BYU, or Julie Hatchett. Sometimes one of the three will show up. We may not have them here today. Do we have David Harting or um, Bronson Ruiz? Come on up. Come, you get to say hello. And I know I've met you, and you were new, and it was great when we had at the city council when you came, and we had some really good discussions. Here you go. Just where you live.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, so my name's Bronson Ruiz. I just live in the Dixon neighborhood. As the biggest reason I applied was just to give people a voice and see what I could do for the neighborhood.
Yeah. Oh, one other thing. Are you interested in being a chair or vice chair? We decided that instead of trying to deal with that later, if anyone, while they're introducing themselves, can also say if they're willing.
I was not going to do that.
Okay. So that is not someone that we will be voting for because we only want people who are willing to do it. Okay. Next we have, yeah, I don't see David. He's usually here. Shannon Bingham from Timp neighborhood. Is Shannon here? Or Christy Bachler? And I hope I'm saying it right. Come on up. I have no idea.
I'm Christy. I'm in the Timp neighborhood and I just got put in. Shannon's been in a couple years. And so I'm just starting and getting to know some of you as well. I see a few familiar faces, but and I also had not planned on going for chair or vice chair.
It might end up being a really easy election later. Okay, Franklin, Art Akon. We heard that Rob Slater is out of town. Is Art here today? He's been really good in the past. He just may not have been able to make it tonight. I don't see Art. Franklin South, Daniel Friend.
Hi, I'm Daniel Friend. I live a block and a half north of Provo Town Center Mall. I've been the vice chair for this last year. Happy to do that again, or to do chair, whatever people decide they'd like to vote for.
Daniel was a lifesaver when I kept having major life events during the neighborhood meetings when I was supposed to be leading these the last year. So I'm very grateful for his help in that. Thomas Ream. Okay, Thomas Ream did not make it tonight, but he has been very active in talking to us and making sure that he was helping put together the agenda and being involved up to this point. Downtown is Quinn Peterson here today. I saw him earlier today, but I haven't seen him tonight. He's over the Downtown Provo initiative and helps coordinate with all the business owners downtown. He also happens to live in Maeser, so we'll claim him there too. But he's representing for downtown. Do we have Caitlin Field Garcia here? And Caitlin's sick, so we're not seeing our downtown. We were excited though. If I remember right, Caitlin's actually a resident downtown. Is that correct? Which is great. So Quinn represents the businesses because there's a lot of businesses right in this downtown area, obviously. But we also have a lot of mixed-use buildings down here where people are living down here, and Caitlin is able to be a representative for the people who are actually living in this area, right along here in along Center Street and University. Joaquin, Laura, I saw you here today. Come on up. She was our chair the very first year we had it, which means you could do it again. I can't because I was just chair now, so I'm not qualified for the next one.
I think I'll spread the chair around, but I'm willing to be a vice chair if we need a vice chair.
Or two, or three,
Or
whatever. We're all good. Secretary is a lot easier than it used to be because we're using AI. And that, so when we're going to ask if anyone is going to be talking, to make sure you talk into a mic so that we actually have it recorded so that AI can make the minutes up with it. So we also have from Joaquin, Tom Spencer. Was it Tom Spencer who was going to be out of town, or is Tom Spencer here today? He's here. He's here. Okay, we have a Tom Spencer and we have somebody else who has a name that's close and my brain was like getting it backward. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Tom Spencer. I live in Joaquin. I'm not sure what else to say. I'm happy to be here. Oh, I'm not thinking to be in the running this time around. So, yeah.
It's fine. We don't want to force anybody into anything. We're just really happy to have representation because having a wide representation helps with more voices so that we can have boots on the ground when decisions are being made to be like, hey, I actually live near here and this is actually what's going on. That's why we're so glad that all of you are here, whether or not you're one of the ones who is appointed for that area. Do we have Jason Ream? Oh, you are here. I just talked to you.
Hi, no chair.
Fine.
I'm Jason Ream. We own the Colony Apartments and some other properties in the area. I probably spend as much time there as I do at home, but I'm not a Provo resident, but I was born and raised here. So
Right. Yeah. He's been really helpful in helping us be able to coordinate things. We have so many rentals downtown. Having someone who sees things from the landlord side while decisions are being made has been very useful with some of our discussions. So kind of like Quinn is helping represent for the businesses and coordinates with them. Jason Ream has been really good about helping coordinate things with the landlords to make sure that decisions are actually actionable. So that's been very good. We also, I already talked about Maeser and East Bay. Do we have Jay Shepard here tonight?
Hi, I'm Jay Shepard. I work at the Provo Town Center Mall, not for the Provo Town Center, but I work inside there. And I'm representing the East Bay as a business representative. I also live in the Franklin area. So thank you.
Are you willing to be fair?
I cannot take any additional responsibilities. Thank you.
I think, yeah, later on. Oh, Eric Davis, please come. Please come on up and represent.
I am Eric Davis. I live in Provo, but I don't live in District 5. But I work in the Office of General Counsel at BYU, and I've been appointed by BYU to be the representative of the university within the district.
Yay. Yeah, a couple of years ago, BYU used to be, yeah, you're fine. Are you willing to be a chair or vice chair? You don't want to deal with that. That's what we thought we were right now. So we're very happy to have BYU with us. At one point, a couple of years ago, the BYU had been connected with some of the neighborhoods that were to the north or to the east instead, and they asked if we were asked if we would want to have BYU with ours, because honestly, a lot of BYU are students who live within the downtown neighborhoods. And so having them on this group to be able to have feedback back and forth has been very valuable. And it was kind of a better fit than some of the places where all the professors live to have where all the students live, because we have a lot of the same concerns, and what they decide and what we decide affects each other quite a bit. So it's good to have everyone at the table. So that's everyone we've got for introductions. We're going to move into some of our items of business at this point. And first, we're going to be going through some of the features of the New York website. First, we have the Emergency Management Coordinator, Chris Blitzinger, who represented in our neighborhood really, really well when there was a fire on Center Street a few months ago near my house. And he was there and helping coordinate everything. So we're very happy to have him helping within our area.
Thank you. I'm Chris Blinzinger, Provo City Emergency Manager. Soraya came to talk to our folks who were displaced at the warming center. So she represents just as well or better. So thank you for that. I'm here tonight to talk to you about our emergency notification system. Here on, there's a QR code here on this thing, this poster that's out front, or there's a card in the back. that has a little QR code here in the corner along with the website alerts.utahcounty.gov. This is a county-wide notification system. Provo has, we fit under the county contract. And so we are able to send out emergency notifications regarding, say there was an evacuation, say there was an area to avoid in an earthquake or a flooding event or a boil water order or something like that. That's what that's used for. There's no other push notifications. We don't use that for anything. It's strictly for emergency notifications. You can go to alerts.utahcounty.gov. That does ask for your address, the ways you'd like to be contacted. The reason we want your address is because if there is a hazard or an emergency in a specific neighborhood, we can draw a box on a map, and anybody in that box that is registered gets that notification. So that helps you to stay informed and be informed of things, hazards, emergencies in your area, guidance, protective actions, things like that. Also, anyone in here interested in doing a free ham radio class? If you are, I have a QR code for that here. I can bring it by and you can scan it. We are really working on our Provo neighborhood ham radio program. We've got about 33 members so far, and this is going to be a part of our emergency communications, getting information from the neighborhoods, and we appreciated the growth of that. Anyone? Any questions? You need to be able to scan this, and you will be contacted by Gavin Groh. He is on our leadership team for the Provo Auxiliary Communications team. And do not. This is something where you come and learn about the operations of a radio. There's a test required to have a ham radio, but the main reason I'm here is to please register for our emergency alert system, Everbridge. Thank you. Oh, sorry, one more. Is there a way to
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I needed to mention, we do have some extra microphones here. If we could have some board members help run to, if anyone has a question, if we want it to be logged on in the Zoom meeting, then we need to make sure that people use the microphone. Thank you for reminding us that.
Is there a way to check and make sure if I have already signed up for the emergency alerts? I think I have, but I'm not 100%.
Sure. You go to that alerts.utahcounty.gov site. You type in your email. If you don't remember your password, forgot password link, that'll send you a link, and that will tell you if it recognizes your email address, then you should be signed up. But I would go ahead and get that, get your password so that you can log in. There are some specific in there. You can identify yourself as a special needs person, as a ham radio operator, as a medical professional or something like that. And there's things like that that's additional information about yourself if you wish to put that on there. Thank you.
The benefit of that is if they do have an emergency in that area, they can see, oh, these people live here and they're someone that we might be able to tap in an emergency. So if you have certain skills to be able to help with things like that, it's great to have that logged in where other people can know so that we can be able to coordinate and help each other in emergency situations. We would next have how to report issues to the city through Brittany. Is Brittany Densley here? Coming up.
Hi, I'm Brittany Densley, and I've got Laramie here with me. He's going to speak a little bit about the website real quick.
Well, welcome. Thanks for having us talk a little bit about how to communicate with Provo. We are from Provo's 311 Customer Service Department, and my name's Laramie. I'm the business manager there. Brittany's our call center manager. And you probably all heard a couple months ago, we rolled out a new website, and hopefully you've all had a chance to take a look at that website. There's some really cool stuff there. Among those things is a new way to chat with the city, get some answers. We have a chat bot on there. One thing that we're really excited about is a new way to report an issue. And I think that's been really important to the residents of Provo to find an easy way to report an issue, whereas we've always had that availability and functionality before. It was kind of called our POB customer service portal. Right now it's just built right into our website. And on multiple pages on the website, there are many ways to report an issue, provide feedback, report a problem. You'll find it kind of scattered throughout the website in general. But all of those come to a program that we manage in customer service. It's called See Click Fix. It's super easy to use, and those all come to the call center, and Brittany manages that operation. So you can let Brittany talk a little bit more on what that is and how you can take advantage of that.
Yeah, so there's lots of different issues you can report through there. Some of the most common ones we have are parking enforcement concerns. We get hundreds of those. You can also report streetlights, potholes, graffiti, zoning, sidewalk issues. There's a lot of other things you can report in there. There's other categories too where you can report anything you see. There's 3 different ways to report. You can either call into our customer service at 311 or 801-852-6000. And any one of our customer service reps can take that call for you in that report. They can give you a request number, and that way you can follow up on it later. You can also use the city app. So with the website, there was a new Provo City app that went out. You guys can scan the QR code here if you'd like to download that. We also have some instructions on the next QR code to show you how to report an issue through that app. So if you guys want to go ahead and do that, you can. Oh yeah, you also could find it in the App Store, just under Provo City. And also, if you need any step-by-step instructions on how to report that issue through the app, we've our lovely quality trainer set up some great step-by-step instructions. So you're more than welcome to use that as well. The third way is through the website. Oh, sorry, go ahead. If you go to our page, which page are you on? Ours? Yep, so share feedback or concerns. Oh, yeah. Right there, yep. And you'll just scroll down here. And you'll be able to request or put in your request for any of these categories. So go ahead and select whichever one you want. What's great here is you can just click and drag to where the graffiti is at, or you can actually enter in the address as well. Once you find that, you just click confirm location, and you can add a photo. So if you're doing that through the app or on your phone, you can add an image, or you can click no photo and you can still put that in. And here you'll just enter a description of what is going on, where it's at, what you're seeing. Yep, confirm details. And now it'll ask you how you'd like to submit it. You've got a few options. You can submit as yourself. You can hide your identity or submit as a guest, depending on what you decide. You'll get email alerts on the progress of your case and when it's been resolved. Yes. Yes, very true. Thank you, Rachel.
One thing to note.
Oh, yeah. I can just repeat it if you like. Yeah. If you submit it as yourself, your information will show up on the open request map under your request. So what Rachel just said is if you're submitting about a
one thing I
violation,
found too, because I was trying to submit something and I was fine with letting my name be known for it, but it made me try to log in and it wouldn't let me log in because apparently my email had been used in some system in the past. And then I put it in 4 different times, and every time, because it was having trouble logging me in, it would erase everything that I put in up to that point. So I don't know whether submitting the request earlier on so that you're not putting in all the information before it. I finally submitted it as a guest because I couldn't get past that. And like 2 days later, I found the pop-up that was trying to like authenticate my name behind other windows on my computer. So that's just something to be aware of. But it's one thing that is nice. I was able to get it in finally submitted as a guest. And they have a map where it shows active complaints or active things that are happening. They're probably going to show that. And that's really cool because then you can see what's been done on it so far.
Yep. Actually, right here, if you want to click on that open request map, it will open up that map and show you all the requests. What's really great is that way you'll know if someone's already submitted for, like, if you see a pothole, you don't have duplicate requests and things like that. Yeah, you can also follow along on these ones. Let's see. Oh, and you can add a new request from here as well. All right. Do you have any questions? Do you have anything else to add to that one, Laramie?
Anybody have any questions?
Any questions? No. Thank you. I love it too. It's a lot better than what we had. So.
a little bit. Part of the reason that I went through, it was actually reporting really bad dog poop on a certain corner that's been going on for 2 years. And so I was like, at first I was frustrated, but then I had a neighbor who lived next door to it saying, yeah, we can smell it from next door and it needs to get fixed. And so I went through and like tried again and then was able to get through. So if you're having any problem, just submit it as a guest. Don't get too.
Yeah. I
And
totally
the
agree.
311 totally works. There's lots of different options. If it's not working for you the first way, it is important to have the information in, so it's worth trying it again.
And if you're having trouble submitting that online or on the app, you can call in. And if you do want follow-up on that and to give your name, the reps can put that in for you.
I believe they had an option where you could give your name to like the reps, but you didn't have to show it publicly if you just wanted an email on reference.
So I know exactly that house that she was talking about with the dog poop. So I saw that on the map and who was assigned to it and everything. And so I actually emailed that person and said, yeah, or the zoning enforcement officer and said, yes, this is absolutely a problem. Here's what I've observed with it. So I was able to give more collateral information to go along with the anonymous post. And that actually worked really well too.
Good. I'm glad. How long did it take for it to get taken care of?
I didn't walk there today, so I don't know if it's been taken care of yet. 2 days ago, it was still a problem. I took a picture of it with like 18 instances in the front yard.
I'm going to go follow up tomorrow.
Oh, thank you. That would be great. Yeah, and so it's really great. Oh, we have another question here. Perfect.
Sorry. So I'm the one that received the complaint. Excuse me. To introduce myself, my name is Abinadai. I'm the code compliance officer for your district. So any complaints you have concerning zoning, you can address to me personally. You can come talk to me afterwards, or you can email me or something like that. When the complaints go through this website and you put yourself as a user, I will call you to get more information to let you know, hey, I'm the code compliance officer for the area. What do you see? What can you tell me besides the notes that I have? So I'll contact you, and I'll try to get the case resolved as quick as I can. Obviously, it's up to the owners and whoever's doing that. But as stated, I received the complaint. I contacted the person I needed to contact, so they know what the situation is going on, and hopefully it's resolved. That's as much as I'll say right now. So.
These things are ongoing. And so even if you have seen that there's a complaint there already, like we were saying, having additional voices saying, yes, this is actually something helps give more weight to it so that things are happening.
Yeah. 2 questions. One, is there a way online, besides just calling in, like we talked about, to add basically a second to whatever somebody else saw?
I believe it's public. You can click on the case and add comments to it.
Okay. And then secondly, if you call 311, will that end up on this map, or is that going to be separate?
Yes, but they can hide your contact information
Okay.
on there.
So you don't have to be online or on the app for it to show up on the map.
Correct. And we do have a couple of internal categories where the public do not see those, but if it is something of like sensitive nature that police need to see or something like that, it's private and it won't be there.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say thanks. I called in the other day at 311. They did an awesome job getting a pothole reported, and it was done in like 2-3 days. I was just super happy.
That makes me happy. Public Works is doing a great job with this new system, especially the streets department. I'm seeing those cases come through really quick. So
it's really nice. I can say that 311 has been amazing in my experience with this area. It's very nice to have a city that's so responsive and is trying to it. And there are some squeaky wheels that want certain things done that aren't necessarily the best for everybody. Part of the reason that we have this whole group is so that we can see both sides of an issue and have other voices come in to say, oh, this is really something that needs to change versus we kind of understand what's going on here, and that at least that can get addressed. So that's also good.
Sweet. Well, any other questions? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you so much. And finally, also on the website, we're going to be talking about information on our actual webpage, and that's going to be with Rachel Breen.
Okay, so if you go to provo.gov, and if you just type in District 5, So we're District 5 here. So the very first one is their neighborhood District 5 page. And this is where I try to put all your information in one spot. So you have your meeting schedule. I do a little synopsis of the meeting. You can do a PDF of the agenda. And then about a week before your meeting, I'll put the actual agenda with your Zoom links right here on the District 5 page. And here's our call for someone else in the East Bay to represent. And then I also have a what's being planned in your neighborhood section. So if there is a public hearing going on, you can just come here instead of trying to find the planning commission page, the city council page, searching all over. You can just go to District 5, look under your neighborhood. Like this one was just approved at the city council meeting in March. This is the one we're actually hearing tonight, Joaquin Neighborhood, kind of alerting you that, hey, if you live in Joaquin, come to the neighborhood District 5 meeting because we're talking about a possible student apartment complex. But those will be there. I also put your public works alerts. So I update these every month. These are the public works projects that are going on in your neighborhood, kind of lets you know what's going on there and when estimated completion, any traffic problems, anything like that. And then we have a little accordion where you can find your city council members, which District 5 is really hard. It's practically everyone. So just do council@provo.gov if you need to contact them. Here
we have the largest population percentage, like I don't know, are we half of the city within our area?
Yeah, you guys have a very large area. And then if you have ongoing crime problems, you do have a COP officer. We've got Officer Waters for the Dixon, Timp, Franklin South and East Bay, and Officer Kau for Joaquin, downtown and Maeser. We also have
Officer Cow grew up in our neighborhood.
Oh, nice. We also have Abinadi Borja, who just spoke to us. So if you have code issues, you can speak to him. And those are the ones specifically for your neighborhoods. We also give you an update on the matching grants. We'll be talking about that later, kind of giving you an update where we're at there and the link for the application. If you want to see what was done at past meetings, just click on this to watch a video of our November meeting that we had. If you want to go, I want to see what's going on, you just click on that one. It'll bring you to this. This is a public document page. Go to Neighborhood District Program, go to District 5, just put in search and it'll bring up, I'm slowly adding all the meetings to here. So say there's a meeting from 2024, I do a little short description here where you're like, oh yeah, when were we talking about short-term rentals? And you can click on that. It'll bring up the agenda, the meeting minutes, and all the slides that were shown at that meeting. And then also, if you want to watch the videos of past meetings, we've got a list of all the past neighborhood meetings. You can click on there and watch the video of it. And then if you want to stay informed, there's links to the Facebook page, the Instagram page, and also a pitch to subscribe to our District 5 newsletters. That's where a lot of information is. And when you ask questions in these meetings, I write them down and research them and answer them in the newsletters. So if you're not getting the newsletters, please sign up. When you sign in, I have a little part where I ask for your email. Please write it legibly. Or just come here and you can subscribe online. And then also we're going to be talking about traffic studies. So all of our traffic studies that we've been doing since Vern Kiesler has been our traffic manager is online. So you can see whenever a resident would ask Vern to do a traffic report, he would do one, and he was inundated with traffic reports. You can see I think we had 8 just for your district last year. So he is now limiting each district to 5. And people have to come to your meetings and kind of petition to get a study done, which is actually going to happen today. So, but this is why, because you're going to get 5. So you want to make sure you get them in the most important areas. But if you ever want to go on the website and look at those traffic studies, you can. But That's kind of where all your, so that should be your go-to is your District 5 webpage should have most of the information that you need.
And it's not a stock photo. That would be in Maeser neighborhood on 200 East.
Yes.
Yeah, you live like not far from there. All right. Next thing on the agenda is a questionnaire. Are we handing out a questionnaire here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Provo City Council has asked to get neighborhood feedback on something they're considering, which is off-leash hours in parks in the city. And they wanted feedback from neighborhoods. So there's QR code if you want to take it online. We have a paper version if people don't want to do it on their phone. And we have pens up here. So does anyone want a paper version instead of doing the online version back there? But I'm just going to hand this out and then we'll take it. Rachel's going to also post it on your Facebook page and in your newsletter, I believe. So if it doesn't get taken tonight, that's okay. And if you want to tell your neighbors to also take it, and they're neighborhood district specific. So this one is for District 5 because it's specific to your parks in your district. But we're getting them from all the districts, and then we'll compile that info and give it back to the council. And then on the June 17th work meeting, the council will be discussing this. So I know that's 3 months away, but that's when we'll be talking about all of the input we get from all the districts. Question.
When you say, well, we're going to talk about it in the council, do you mean the city council or the neighborhood council?
You have to talk in the mic. From the city council. So the city council talked about this in their last work meeting as something that maybe they were looking into as a policy for some parks in the city. And so before they went any further on making a decision, they just wanted to get feedback from the neighborhood districts.
Thank you. I believe that feedback was given via email, and close to 60 people emailed with their own testimonials of why they were against this, and about 5 emailed in favor of. I'm trying to understand why the council didn't make a decision with this much feedback.
Great question. So they did talk about the feedback that they got at that meeting. But they did also, one of the ideas that they had was to maybe do this policy by districts if they were going to do it. But before they wanted to do that, taking in the feedback they got from the whole city, they wanted more specific district feedback as well. And so it will all be compiled all together. So we'll have the district specific stuff and then also all of the other feedback that we've also had.
No, that's fine. Will the email feedback get funneled into that? Yeah, and do they know what district they're in, or?
They don't know what district unless the people identified in their email, but yeah. Okay, I'm just,
Yeah, if you know about the emails,
know what?
I would
I'm
just say,
gonna
I would do it.
because
If you happen to be one of the people who did one of those emails, I would suggest doing a reply to it and saying, hey, I am in this district, so that you make sure
Yeah,
it gets counted in the
that's a
correct
good idea.
place. Yeah.
That's a great idea. I'm a little concerned that 60 of our constituents emailed, and maybe not everybody recorded what district they belong to. So how do we reply? Does the council have someone assigned who could support with replying to each one?
Replying to emails is up to each individual counselor. Sometimes they ask us to help, but that's kind of up to them. But the council do read all of the emails, and they do talk to staff about that, and they do take that into consideration. And this feedback isn't going to supplant the previous feedback we got. This is just additional and in addition to. So in no way is this going to be like, forget everything else we heard and talked about and now go with this. It's just going to be more evidence for them to make a decision on.
Yeah, super quick question. We live in a little pocket where we're in a different voting council than neighborhood.
Yeah.
How does that play in?
You can, so like Rachel said, neighborhood district 5 is kind of crazy because you guys are like half the population of the city, but you're one district. So you have multiple counselors that are over your neighborhood district. So if you just email council@provo.org, that goes to all of them and they all read it. So yes.
Don't we already have off-leash parks like Bicentennial where they can just let their dogs go in a fenced area and play?
Yes. So that we already have
So are they
Bicentennial as a
wanting to
fenced dog
add
park.
additional parks?
Possibly. Possibly additional fenced dog parks. And this is specifically looking at off-leash hours in parks, not fenced in, just off-leash hours in the park. Hold on.
Now, oh, sorry. Would you rather I add my comment now or at the end of the meeting?
At the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also Rachel sends all the minutes and the recordings of these meetings to the council and watch back, but I'm the staff member. So my name is Malia Daly. And so I'm kind of the staff member helping compile this feedback and do the research for the council. So you can also email me specifically. What is my email, Rachel? Oh, it's mdayley@provo.gov. So, but I work with the council really closely and make sure I'm reading the feedback that they're receiving as well.
So to go with Soraya's suggestion, if you've already sent an email, just do kind of a reply all and add Malia to it.
Yeah.
And that would work. So do that reply, say, by the way, I still have this opinion. I live in the Joaquin neighborhood. And that way she can get it too.
Yeah.
Context can really matter in this. If you're someone who lives right next door and is seeing stuff versus someone who's hearing things that lives farther away, that can actually play into some of the information for the council members to be able to have good information to make good decisions with.
Okay. You're okay.
I just want to reiterate this one part. It seems like the person that was proposing this had collected over 200 signatures of people who were in support of doing the off-leash hours in the dog parks. And I just think it's important to highlight that 60 of our neighbors went out of their way to email with their own personal stories. Most of them have had encounters with dogs. And so did the council give precedence to those 200 plus signatures, or did they read those 60? I know that you're not the person that went through this, but I wanted to highlight that because I am concerned that we go out of our way to voice our thoughts, and here we are talking about it. We could be talking about many other things instead.
Yeah, you're good. Thank you.
I do know that dogs are one of the hot topics in the city right now. There's a lot of issues going on with that. And being a hot topic, it may be that part of the reason for the questionnaire is to give people who only had the opportunity for a signature before to be able to put more information into it or to reconsider it. So it usually, if something like this is happening, it's like we need more information from a lot wider variety of people and more in depth. And so that's why it wouldn't have been decided yet, because maybe some of the people only knew that to do a signature. I know my husband had no idea about it and he saw it on the agenda and he's like, that's a great idea. And he and I often fight about whether to let the dog off the leash in a park. So there are a lot of opinions out there even within my own household. So yeah,
I'm going to put the paper ones on the back table as well if you want to take one, and then you can give it back to us at the next meeting or whenever. Okay. Thanks.
Right. Our next thing, when we need to we always started late, so we're not that far off considering when we started. The next thing is a preliminary discussion on a proposed student apartment project in the Joaquin neighborhood. If we could is Jeren Stevenson here?
Okay, as Jeren's coming up, I'm just going to remind you to please be respectful. The developers do not need to come to our meetings. So we really want to take advantage of this opportunity, especially since this development is in the idea stage. Nothing has been applied for. No plans have been made. This is someone who wants to speak to you before they do anything. So we're looking for very constructive ideas on that. And so we don't want to like pounce on them. So
If you want to pounce on me, we can meet at the flagpole after we're done. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. So my name is Jeren Stevenson. I am from Utah. I'm from Kaysville, Utah. I did not go to BYU or spend a lot of time in Provo, but today I skipped the traffic, came down here early and hung out with my sister and her husband who are at school here. He's going to BYU and she just graduated from Provo College. So have some connections down here. I'm working with a guy by the name of Dan Hemmert, and he owns this property that's at this address within the Joaquin district. Who here is within the Joaquin district itself? Okay, great. I was really hoping that people from the district would show up and that, you know, I was worried that maybe no one would. And then I'd have to, you know, like try and figure some else, you know, some other way. Just to set this up, I am open to questions now. I know that we're running late on time. I will wait until after the meeting and I'll take any questions. My goal with today, you know, kind of like what you're saying, is this is just preliminary. I want to get your feedback and input. We want to do a development that is both in anticipation of the city's growth and BYU's growth with the medical school and so forth, but also, you know, that you guys can be, you know, happy with it right now and have input. And of course, we'd love to have your support. Okay. So by the way, this isn't necessarily a linear slide deck. It kind of is. But I might ask you to click back and forth every once in a while, if that's okay. Okay. So just a little bit of background here. So most of the Joaquin district right here is within the residential conservation zone. I just took a screenshot of this. Just wanted to highlight that project redevelopment is encouraged through the use of a pro zone. So for example, by the way, this is a real wild card here. I'm not sure if you guys have liked the results of the village, but we're seeking a similar zone change to what the village has. And the project here is just south of the village. Can you go to the next slide? Okay. So we would like to kind of what we'd be looking for, just to set this up, is a Pro A17 project redevelopment option. And can we go to the next slide? So I just, you know, you guys can read. I don't need to read for you here, but really we want to propose a project that allows for more student housing close to BYU. I know that we're trying to conserve single family housing in this city, right? And in a place, you know, in a national environment where there's more and more homes being rented out. You know, I'm being priced out of buying a home. Also with students in Provo growing and expanding, you know, there's a lot of students renting homes farther and farther and farther away from campus and pushing families out. And so that's kind of our general ideas. We want to provide, I know this is kind of a bad word, but high density housing for students specifically close to campus with parking. And we're going to go over that. Okay. All right. So this is the just basic rendering. The buildings here that are, I guess, drawn up look very like dystopian and Russian. It's not what they're going to look like. It's just pretty basic. The one that we're going to be focusing on today, this was just drawn up a while ago, is the one on the bottom right. Okay. So you look in the corner right there, that's where the village is. You go down, there are two houses right there where they're currently being housed by students that students are renting out of. And so one thing to know is we're not trying to get rid of single family housing. This is already being rented out. Okay. So yeah, this will be the area right here. Can we go to the next slide as well? And this is another angle of it as well. This one on the top left. Okay. And next slide as well. Yeah, so actually it's interesting. So the guy I work for is his name is Dan Hemmert. He has had this house for a number of years. His son goes to BYU and just kind of does the property management of it right now. And he was talking to a friend of his. My boss was talking to a friend of his, and they both found out they both owned homes in Provo that were renting the students, and found out that they were actually right next to each other. Just happenstance. And so that's where this development would be right here. Yeah, and then he also does own a home on this other property down here on the right. That one's more iffy. We aren't so sure we can accommodate parking with that one yet. And so we wanted to focus on a project first where we could establish confidence with the city, with you guys in the Joaquin district and in district and in the neighborhood district 5. So yeah, can we go to the next one? And that was a great, and of course, if you guys have an urgent question, you can let me know. If not, we'll go over a couple questions here at the end or at the end of the meeting. Okay. So just a couple notes here. I've already said this one. These are rental properties, have been for years. We're not getting rid of single family homes. I think that there is an inch, I would believe, granted I'm a biased opinion, right? But I would believe that Provo City sees the growth of its various schools in addition to BYU and I guess UVU's in Orem, but all of my friends who went to UVU live in Provo, right? It's growing a lot and there needs to be some expansion to allow for more students without getting rid of the family-centered city that Provo is, right? Parking's huge. You'll see the third bullet point have that, street parking bad. You guys can go on and report all this parking as I've, bad parking as I've heard today, but we want to try and provide a project that keeps our tenants on the property. Okay. So we're going to have the first floor will just be like a parking garage, just like right when you drive in. And we want to have one parking spot per bed plus a quarter parking per bed to accommodate for guest parking as well. Sorry, can you say that again? That's a good question. That's what we're probably gonna have to figure out.
Oh, just so that we can have it in the minutes. The question was whether they were going to have to pay to park in that parking, because that's been an issue that's happened. But we are doing most of the questions for later on because it was an idea.
I will say I went to school. Sorry, guys, Utah State University. BYU was gonna do way better in the tournament this week than Utah State is, sadly. But yeah, go Aggies. Hey, the guy from BYU just said go Aggies. You guys hear that? There you go. A fellow from up north. Hey, yeah, we're on the same team, I was bummed UVU lost. Okay, that's besides the point. What was I even saying? When I was at Utah State, I lived at a complex that was similar to the one that we're proposing, and I did pay for parking to be there, just so not anyone can go park in there. But guest parking, yeah, people can be there during the day. I'm sure we'll set rules that will be in compliance with what the city would want, right? Yeah, and all plans are preliminary. That's it. Questions from the group. And like I said, my goal, I can't accommodate for everything. These are preliminary. I just want to make sure you guys are heard and that I can take this information back and try to create a project that would be pleasing to the neighbor in the city. Yes, sir. Gentleman back here. Could we get yeah.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you very much for coming early in your plans.
Yeah.
My question is, have you read the Joaquin Neighborhood Plan?
Yes. Don't ask me to recite it like I can in the scriptures, because I can't.
Okay. So this would be a very nice development north of 5th North. Those are still classified as single family homes, even if they're rented to batching singles.
Correct.
Okay. They are single family homes. They're in a single family home neighborhood. We're trying to maintain the character of the neighborhood. You don't know how many times we have dealt with the developers who wanted to do things that are not in the plan. And I suggest that you take that plan very seriously.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You get another question here in the back. And then over here on the left.
Yeah, so I just have a slight concern about the parking. The reason being, this is a high density development close to campus, which is something that I think is a good thing and that would benefit Provo. I do appreciate the plan to not have cars on the road. But adding more parking, whether it's paid for or not, on road or off or on street or off street, will add to the volume of traffic in the city. And especially on those roads, we have had quite a few vehicle pedestrian collisions over the last few years. So
California drivers.
I am not
Joking, sorry.
not saying anything like that, but I am concerned about the increase in vehicular traffic there. And if that sort of pattern continues, the roads would have to get bigger, which would make less space for that high density housing that we're looking for.
Yes, yeah, that's a great comment. And I should have included that in here. Granted, I learned today that only 5 traffic studies are approved per year. So we're going to try and expedite that to get that approved and make sure that it's in compliance with what would work for you guys. Yes. And the woman right from you right after as well. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Is that on? Yeah, I live extremely close to this, and I could express a lot of concerns, but I could just boil it down to saying, if that were put in, I would consider it catastrophic, and I would move, and I'll do anything I can to prevent that. And it's not anything about the idea. It's just, as was said, a lot of thought and concern is going on into about what do we do about what's our long-term plan for Joaquin? What do we protect? Where do we protect it? This would just completely, extremely violate the spirit of that plan, and which I spent many, many hours, volunteer hours in the construction of that plan. So, and the city approved it unanimously. So I kind of just feel like because of the location, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's not really an option.
Thank you for sharing.
Maybe I missed this, but is this for single students or married students?
We haven't decided yet.
Okay.
I mean, that's actually a good question. Yeah, we haven't even talked about it. It could be a combination. Obviously, anything that would have to, if we wanted to do approved BYU housing, go through BYU, that would be to be determined. Yeah.
Can I just ask a real quick question? How old are those homes? Do you know what year they were built in?
That is a good question. Is the question in regards to, are they like a historical landmark or like?
Not landmark, but obviously, because that would take a lot of work to make that happen. But just curious what the years are of those homes.
I don't know the answer to that question. Yeah.
They were built in 1930s.
Good to know.
1930s. We actually need to move on to our next part.
That's
I'm
fine.
so glad that you've already said that you're willing to stay after and continue
Yes.
to field more questions, so that he can make sure that you have a good vision of like what kind of response you'll be getting.
All
So
I
thank
ask
you.
is it's a fair fight. No knives, no brass knuckles after this. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we have Gina Hales? She was going to be reporting on school district next.
Hi, I am Gina Hales. I live in the Dixon neighborhood. I grew up in the Dixon neighborhood most of my life. And I am currently serving on the school board. We have Terry McKay. Will you raise your hand? She is in the Franklin area, serving on the school board as well. I have to run after this because I think I dropped my phone on the way here. But Terry said she's willing to answer questions afterwards. There's so much happening in the school district, so many good things, but I can't cover them all in the 3 to 5 minutes that I have. So I've just picked the 2 things that I thought would be the most relevant, or what you guys would think is the most interesting. And then if you have additional questions, I can maybe take a couple here depending on the time. And then afterwards, Terry will be happy to answer your questions while I go search for my phone. Okay, so what we're doing right now, we finished our strategic plan, which is like mission, theme, vision, all of those things. I should have put a slide in here. I forgot, but it's fantastic. Maybe next time we'll put it up. But we are now working on a boundary and feasibility study. So I thought maybe you guys want to know what is that. So it's basically an evaluation of projected possible boundary changes or school consolidations, examining factors like enrollment projections, infrastructure needs, school and district programming, and community impact to determine the feasibility and recommend the best course of action. So we're looking at all the different schools, how many students are in those schools, how many students might be in those schools in 5 years, 10 years. Do we have schools that have smaller numbers of students and have space? Should we change our boundaries so that some of the schools that are overcrowded can now have more students possibly attend? The wrinkle in that is that we are an open enrollment district, meaning even if we change the boundaries, people can opt to go to other schools. So even if we change boundaries, it might be like nailing jello to a tree because people might just opt to go where they want to go. But we wanted to get an outside company to come in and tell us what's the state of the district. And they did come a couple weeks ago or a month ago and told us the good news is there are no huge emergencies right now. There's nothing like hanging right here over our heads that we have to do. So anyway, that's what a boundary and feasibility study is. So while it's a good thing and we're wanting to make sure we're utilizing our resources and our buildings effectively and efficiently, boundary changes, we're all for boundary changes unless it's our kid, right? Unless it's our students. So we'll see what happens. All right, next slide. So what is the timeline? In March, we'll get an initial report. We did get an initial report in March. Was it March or February? I can't remember. We got an initial report. And then we are trying to get out right now a community survey. This is for everyone, not just for the parents, not just if you have a student, but everyone. We want to know what your priorities are. So we got to preview it, and there were some questions like, do you prefer small neighborhood schools? Would you prefer, or are you someone who would rather bus your kids across town and have bigger schools so that we can save some money? Those types of things. And so they're basically asking, what are your priorities, so that when they bring the information back to the school district and they give us, some possible suggested changes, it's based on the priorities that the community has and the school board have put forth. So we're hoping to get that out before the end of the month. I was just in a meeting where we are hoping at our April 15th meeting to have not the final sounds like there's nothing else going to happen, but they'll bring the report to us. We'll go over the report and the things that they're recommending, and then we'll come back to the community, like it says April and beyond. We'll come back to the community and say, this is what the report said. This is the recommendations they have. Here are our ideas. What do you think of that? So that is basically where we are with the boundary and feasibility study. Are there any questions on boundary and feasibility? Awesome. I did such a great job, or I did such a horrible job that you don't have any questions. Another one that I get questions about a lot is the Dixon property. Right now we have, I believe, some adult ed and some English learners programs that are in there. And we also have the Boys and Girls Club who are rebuilding their facility on the east side. And so they're utilizing ours, the habitable parts of the building. There are parts of the building that humans really can't be in because it's not safe, which is why we moved the school. And so we have a couple of programs there now. But basically, we have not made a decision, and there's been lots and lots of rumors. We get told all the time that we've already made the decision. And I will tell you, I'm the vice president on the board. I'm in on all the discussions, and we have not made a decision. There's no decision has been made. We have gathered a lot of feedback, but we wanted to make sure we had the results of that boundary and feasibility study because we want to make smart decisions. We shouldn't be making decisions about what's going to go in there. Like, well, we're going to put in a third middle school, and then we get we don't need one, right? And so we want to be able to have that information before we make a final decision so we can be smart with the resources. So having said that, when we've had several meetings with the community, the leading ideas that really came out were having a CTE, Career and Technology Education Center, for our high schools be there. So that would be things like welding and aviation and those types of things that you don't necessarily need a 4-year degree for, but that you could start, or even like if we did an aviation program, the kids could go straight from high school and be accepted into UVU already into their program, already having done a bunch of stuff, and then their hours are paid for at UVU. So that would be, it's a nice central location for that because we could get both Timp students and Dixon students there. The other one is Timpanogos was built too small. I was not on the board when that decision was made, so don't talk to, you can talk to me about it, there's nothing I can do. They built it too small. The first year they were there, they already had a portable, the trailer. And so we have some people who would like us to rebuild Timpanogos on the Dixon site and then retrofit the Timpanogos site to be the CTE building. There's pros and cons to both of those. I'm not here to talk about all of those, but those are the two leading ideas that we've had for that site. And I just want to reiterate, no final decision has been made in front of closed doors or behind closed doors. We have not made a decision on this. Those are the two ideas that I do hear board members talk about the most, and they're also the ones that the community has talked about the most. So those are the two slides I have. You'll go to the next one. I have, if you want to reach out to us, Terry, like you can email any of us, but Terry's Franklin area and west, right? Southwest. Meg is Joaquin, Wasatch, over there. Maeser, yeah, Maeser. Maeser? I don't know. And then I am Dixon, Timpanogos. I'm really central. My district is the most compact and small. So I think I'm out of time. Is that correct? We're out of time. So if you have questions, Terry would be more than happy to answer those afterward.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the board election. Given that we only had one board member who's here tonight that was willing to be chair, would anyone like to make a nomination?
I will nominate Daniel Friend for chair.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we have multiple seconds. I think just because we only have, are there any other nominations? That's what I should be asking. Any other nominations for chair? Crickets? All who are in favor, we'll do this one by a raise of hands. All who are in favor of Daniel Chair as the neighborhood, the District 5 chair for this coming year. It's a 1-year term, by the way, and then you can't do it the following year, just so we're all clear on that. All who are in favor by raise of hands, aye. Any of them who are opposed? No. So the ayes are above the nose, and Daniel Friend will be our chair for this next year. The next thing that we need is how many vice chairs do we need to have? Okay, we do have, do we have nominations for vice chair? We can have 1 or 2. If we have more than 1 nomination, we can always go for that as well.
I nominate Laura Levitt.
I will second that. Laura Levitt, are there any other nominations? You know, I don't think Crystal would appreciate that right now. I am willing to do a vice chair just because for payback, because he kept filling in for me. I'm willing to do the same for him, kind of a thing. But okay, so do we have any other nominations? So so we'll go for a raise of hands. If you are interested, I'll do one at a time. If you're interested in having Laura Levitt as one of the vice chairs, please raise hand. Any who are against it? There are none, and so she is one of our vice chairs. And for Soraya Hillam, who's me. Aye. Any against? I think we have all unanimous voting, and that is probably by far the quickest voting we've ever had on these. We used to like pass out everything. And so that should bring us back up to about where we should be on the agenda. I think maybe nobody said they were willing to be secretary at this point, and AI is going to do most of the work anyway. So we're going to let that be. And we actually worked on last year we elected a secretary who then moved very quickly. And yeah, anyway, so the next thing we have is the results for the 100 North 6 to 900 West and 100 South 1000 West traffic studies. If you want to go into that, Rachel. And we want to put out a public thank you to Vern Kiesler for still doing things for us, even though we overburdened him.
No, that's great. Okay, so this is a traffic study on 100 North from 500 West to 900 West. This was requested last year, but this is our first meeting since then. So this is the street we're looking at here. So 100 North, right there, and had 7 crashes from 2021 to 2023, which is a lot for these studies. Usually it's 1 or 2. So the fact that there's 7 on this street, and this is where the crashes were located. So it's all at the intersections. And he did a comparison. I'm not quite sure what this is, so I'm going to skip this. The definitions, the most important thing is the 85 percentile. The average speed won't really give you an accurate, so it's the 85 percentile speed is what we're going to look at in these next ones. And this is where he put the speed and volume monitors. And so the speed results, so this is 700 west. The 85%, I believe the speed limit's 25 here, right? And so the 85% speed was 32 eastbound and 34 westbound. And he always likes to do the highest ones. So someone was in the 50 mile per hour category and then in the 40s. And then on 800 west, oh, and these were done in November. 800 west, 85% speed, eastbound was 32, westbound was 33. And quite a few vehicles, 7 each in the 40 to 50 range. And then the volume is actually quite low. It's less than 100 vehicles per hour in each direction. So not a huge volume street. And same with the 800 west, not huge numbers there. And so he kind of did a comparison between the two streets. And then he realized that when he was comparing 2023 to 2024, he realized that the calculations were wrong in 2023. So the red numbers are the correct ones, which match more of what is going on this year, which really surprised him. I'm going to skip to this next thing, because why did the traffic increase after Dixon Middle School closed? So he's hoping to get some information from the neighborhood, because he expected those numbers to go way down, and they ended up actually the volumes going up. Some of his solutions he has for the speeding is to inform the police department, consider applying for a CDBG funding for a bulb out at the 700 West to help with that. But he really wants, in fact, he sent me this again saying, if anyone in the neighborhood has insights as to why the volume increased, and it was weird that it increased 37% at 700 West and only 15% at 800 West, and it increased after Dixon Middle School closed. So here's his contact information. He's hoping some residents will know the answer to that, because that's the exact opposite of what he thought was going to happen. And then here's the next study. This one's 100 South, 1000 West. And this is one, it's right here where a lot of people are getting off the freeway and then going into the neighborhood. So it's this intersection right here where he did it. And he talked about how when he does these studies, the purpose of these studies is he has to meet certain thresholds dictated by the state in order to do stop signs, bulb outs, things like that. And if it doesn't meet those thresholds, then he can't do them. And so he just kind of talks about the different warrants on that. There was 2 crashes. There's the crash locations right there at that intersection. And those were dry conditions, daytime. And again, he put the monitor right there. And then the results on this one he kind of has 186 total just at this intersection at 3 o'clock. So quite a few vehicles here. And here he talks about the different warrants, in that you have to have at least 3 crashes. You have to have different functional classifications, stuff like that. But he said because of consistent street parking on the north and south sides of 100 West, it made it so you couldn't really see. There was a restricted view. And that's one of the things that if the restricted view exists, then you can do some of these measures. And so this one did have that. It had the restricted view. And so he talked about these possible solutions. And if I understand him correctly, he's already implemented these. So he added a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit sign. He added no parking signs on the corners of the intersection. So then that way you can see better. He replaced the yield signs with stop signs because a lot of people were just blowing right through the yield signs. He notified the police department for the stop sign enforcement and notified the parking division for parking enforcement on that. So that was one. He felt like cars were really speeding through because they're coming off the freeway and they're still doing those fast speeds. But he wanted to make sure that you knew that he's already on top of it on that one. He was very concerned and he wanted to make sure that you got the information at this meeting on that one. And there's his contact info if you need to contact him. But speaking of traffic, a request for a traffic study is our next one.
All right, thank you. My name is Robin Woodbury. I'm on the Parent Community Council at Franklin Elementary. My son's a second grader there. I know a lot of you were involved back in November when we had the construction that was blocking our safe route to school for the people who lived on the east side. So thank you everyone who was involved in that. We did get temporary bus stops put in for our kiddos. In relation to that, I got volunteered for our community council and I'm the chair there now. And we have another concern with our safe routes to school. So you can go ahead to the next slide. So I'm here today to request a traffic study at this intersection at 700 West and 300 South. This is one of our school crossings coming into the Franklin neighborhood. Currently, this is not a four-way stop. It's a one-way stop. So going this way, there are stop signs, but where my car is going, this is for going west. There is not a stop sign there currently. There's been concerns from some of our parents that people tend to just zip right through, and we've had a couple really close calls with kids almost getting hit in this intersection. So we wanted to do the traffic study to see if there's any justification for maybe changing how this intersection is trafficked. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. This is the intersection at 600 West, 300 South. So this is the one just directly west of the one I was just discussing. And this intersection is a four-way stop. So if you're traveling to the school, you'll stop at this intersection, but then a lot of people just continue on and whip through that next intersection. So that was kind of what I wanted to present today. I know we only get 5 traffic studies a year. So I wanted to get some feedback if anyone had any questions or concerns I could answer.
Do we have, I would just like, one thing that I wanted to say first is that I know that the area around Franklin neighborhood has been an issue for decades.
Yeah,
the former city council member, Sydney Richards, first got involved in city council and other things because her child was hit right next to the school. So I personally, I don't have a problem with it. I know that Laura had some comment.
Well, just that this is an intersection which came up, like Public Works has a project slated for it. Correct?
I have not heard of that, but
I'm hoping it's this intersection.
So Laura and I were both on the CDBG board that met yesterday.
Okay.
And we recommended for approval a Public Works proposal to put some bulb outs and do some other traffic calming things at this exact intersection.
Oh,
now,
I guess we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Something must be
now
done.
that still has to go through city council approval, and we're still all holding our breath, making sure that these funds don't get impounded or something, because they are federal funds and there's more people involved with it than just us. But we all want this to happen. Public Works knows that something is going on here. And I think that doing a traffic study ahead of time for that is just going to make things go faster. So I love this idea.
So question, point of order. If it's something that's going to be going before the city council anyway, does it have to count against our 5 for the year? I think it definitely needs to get done. I think we're, and we can take a vote on it if we need to. We can ask whether we're okay with this being one of our 5, but we could also put an addendum if there's some way it cannot count against our 5, so we can keep getting more places, because we have so many parking issues throughout our district. We have like half the population of the city, even though it's not the whole space of it. I think that might be, to be able to preserve having more traffic studies, is a good idea. But I think I guess I should ask that. proposal or vote on if to pay this as one of our 5 with the caveat that if it cannot count against our 5, we would prefer that. But either way, we want it done. All in favor on that? Are there any opposed? I think that's what we can go forward with. So if we can have it not count so that we can do more studies if you have other places in Franklin. And I'm also would wanted to make sure it goes in the minutes or whatever, that I'm very impressed that we have the school community council person, which is part of the way that that's supposed to go through as a representative here. Thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, thank you for hearing me out. I know a lot of us at Franklin have been concerned about this intersection. And so thank you for your support in keeping our kids safe when we're trying to get them to school.
Very good. Thank you. We wanted to discuss matching grant ideas. We had one because of the time frame to make sure that things happened in a timely manner to use the money for this fiscal year. It had to get into it. And so we actually did a vote to approve a matching grant so that we could use up our money in time so that it wouldn't just get wasted for this year. But there have been some hiccups in having that happen. So we're going to have Daniel Friend update us on what that matching grant was and what's happening.
Thanks, Soraya. So the matching grant idea was to do some xeriscaping at the south end of the roundabout at 920 South and Freedom Boulevard, which is right where I live. I happen to be the HOA president for that community that owns that, and the HOA board voted to pursue the matching grant. Now, the way that the money works is that we need the matching grant money, and we are also going to use money from the Provo 1,000 Trees Initiative, which is a federal grant. Now that would pay for about half of what we needed. The trees money would cover not just trees, but also shrubs and drip lines. And that's a significant amount of the cost of this particular project. Unfortunately, that grant is federal money and has been frozen. Whether you love our president or hate our president, his decisions are having an impact on our community right now today. And this is one of the ways that his decisions are having an impact on us, that he froze all the federal grant money. That includes Provo's 1,000 Trees grant money. And without that grant money, there's just simply not enough to do this project. We hope that the money will get unfrozen, or that our city forester will be able to find alternative sources of funding. He is working on that for us. He wants to do this project. It'll be good for saving water. It'll be good for the view, for the look of the area. It'll be good for any pedestrians who are walking by and want some shade. But until we find alternate funding or the federal money gets unfrozen, we are stuck for the moment on this particular project.
So basically, the project that we had to use our money for this fiscal year, which ends at the end of June, correct? There's a lot of paperwork that goes into these. And so getting things done in a timely manner is kind of affected by that. We may or may not be able to use that money. If we have other good ideas that come forward, given the uncertainty on the one that we had already approved, we would be very interested in seeing that. I know that it's too bad that is it Rob Slater is the one who put in the other one. He's already putting one into effect for helping out. Is the one by Asian Market, if I'm remembering right? So in front of the Asian Market on 500 West, we did a whole neighborhood matching grant and worked on getting things looking a lot better along the freeway across the street next to the big grocery store and such. And that he was looking to try and get the other part of that intersection in front of Asian Market to be looking better, and is working on that. But because of timelines and such, that will likely happen for next year. And it hasn't been voted in necessarily. We're still getting information. If you have other ideas for matching grants, we wouldn't mind getting started on them so they can be in the process, so we can try and make sure that we're actually using this funding to help our community get better. Yes. So we have up to this amount of money. It has to be something that you see from the outside. So you can't remodel the inside of somebody's home. But if it's going to be like it can be private or public, correct? It can be either, if I'm remembering right. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be either. It's usually something that's public facing. So it might technically be private, but like the mural at Maeser Park is on a private building, but it's facing a park.
And that was one that was done with neighborhood matching grants. Yeah. Before we were in District 5, that was done with Maeser Neighborhood. Yes. You should just be sitting up front so we don't have to walk.
One thing that I would like to see is more public seating. So, like at intersections, if in bulb outs, that's public area, a decent amount of space. I think that having benches there would be a great idea.
Seating actually isn't as expensive and could be within the scope of this. So that is one possibility. Figuring out where the best places for that to be and what type of seating that's permanent. Because I know permanent can be a little bit more expensive, but it would be interesting to see some quotes
Yeah,
on that.
I know other groups have done benches. There was a request online to pour cement at bus stops along certain areas, and that could be something where we could do a bench also.
Does that have anything to do with the station study that Becky Bogdan was asking people for feedback on?
That's probably different buses. This wouldn't be the UVX stops.
Okay.
This would be other.
Yeah, just as a heads up, there is a study also being done trying to get feedback on the different stations through the area. Is it bus stations particularly on that study? I need to look at it. I haven't yet, but we have a council member who's been pushing out, trying to get information and feedback from our neighborhood on that. And I'll try and we need to make sure that, is that on our website already, on the Facebook page as well?
It's been pushed out to we had the big open house that we pushed out, and it's been on social media for that, mostly to get people to go to the open house.
Okay. So yeah, as a heads up, that's something to be looking into as well. Any other comments on matching grant ideas at this point? It's something, if nothing else, it's something to keep in your back of your mind as we try and move forward, because we do want to make sure that we're making improvements and using the funds that are given to us to help decide and make improvements with. It's just, there's just a lot of paperwork. And so it doesn't happen immediately. So getting things into the pipeline is a great idea. Other thing, we've announced already who the District 5 chairs and such are. We're now in the public comment section. If you have anything else that you would like to have comments on, please bring that up. We've got, if you want to come up, and then we'll have Elizabeth.
Yeah, so I have 3 comments actually based upon the things we went over. Let's start with the dog leash issues. Plain and simple, it's really a high risk. I've actually given comments on it, but just doing a quick search on my phone and looking at case law in Utah alone, it's a high risk. It's going to not only make us look bad for the media, but it's going to put our kids at risk. And our city council should really take that into consideration. As for the Joaquin Neighborhood apartment complex, the individual made the comment about California, but he's honestly, based upon his comment, if you've ever been to California and lived there, it's 100% like my experience from living there. And I wasn't in a high population area like LA, but it was still garbage. The next thing is based upon the traffic studies. I do think based on our population in the district, we're really not represented like other districts. Plain and simple, we have the freeway exit on one side, we have our other freeway exit on the other, and then on top of that, we're stuck at 5. But if you look out the windows right now, our traffic sucks compared to the other districts. And plain and simple, I could start naming streets, but we'd be here all night. So that's my comments.
I guess we could look into a study on whether or not our district, given those situations, if we could have more than 5. Other public comments? Come on up, Elizabeth.
Yeah. My name's Elizabeth Molinaro. I came to BYU to study and I never left. I'm thrilled to be raising my children in the same neighborhood that I have lived in for the past 24 years. Routinely, there are items on the public agenda that would affect the neighborhood that I live in. We live next to Memorial Park specifically. And as I watch those things come to pass, something I wanted to make public record is that park is different than all of our other Provo City parks in the very nature of the name of the park. Memorial Park has a very calm and specific purpose, and it is to commemorate those who have served. It is a walking path where people can ponder. And it is a place where, yes, BYU students come and fill it with 16 spike ball courts and volleyball nets on Monday nights. But then you also have families walking around. And it is a very quiet and thoughtful place. And as we have fought to not have bathrooms in the park there, as we have fought to not have dogs off leash there, it is not just because we're selfish with the space. We want everyone in Provo to be able to enjoy it. However, because of the very name and nature of the park, it is different from the other parks. And I feel that it's respectful to our veterans who have served and community members who have passed away in service of our country if we keep that in mind when we do petition for changes. I came tonight specifically to speak out against dogs off leash. I love dogs. I have a dog. He is always on his leash. But I also have a son with autism who became afraid of dogs by being jumped on one in Memorial Park who was off leash. And when I went to remove the dog, the owner chastised me for putting his dog in jeopardy, as his dog was putting my child in jeopardy. In a separate incident, a few years later, we were at Exchange Park across town where another dog jumped up on my child in his swing, barked in his face, and was that close to nipping his face before his uncle could get there and pull him away. I hesitate to think about the fact that there are good people who do good things with their pets and children. We all share space, but if there is something that could potentially be a danger that we could not prevent and protect and anticipate, doing that for the benefit of some is not worth it for the whole. I do agree we need dog parks. I would love for my puppy to be off leash in a designated space where it is safe for everyone who chooses to go there. I think we as a community are bright enough and can use our space smart enough to make that happy so that everyone feels that they have access to the things that they would like. But we need safety first. And I can't explain to a small child in our community or a disabled community member why their wheelchair can't outrun a dog. My mother was in one and she had dogs charge her in hers. It is imperative that we take the community members who do not have a voice into that decision as we debate what's best for our furry friends. I love them, but I do love my child more. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Do we have others who wanted to, oh yes, Rachel, go ahead.
Yeah, I have some,
Oh, that's right. We have participants on Zoom who may also want to have put in information.
Let me get, well, I had people, they had to leave. But they wanted to put this out here. They're looking for urban agriculture in neighborhoods. So they want people to send photos, names, and contact info about your favorite urban Aggie to ag.in.provo@gmail.com. Just kind of a, community garden, chicken coop, microgreens, anything like that. So they've got a poster out there and some flyers. They had to leave, so they apologize. They wanted to present during the public comment.
I apologize that we started late.
Well, they actually had to leave way before they had.
Could you have that in like the neighborhood area, like when you put out the newsletter or whatever?
I will put it in. Okay. I just got it today, so
okay.
This is brand new info. But speaking of community gardens, service project coming up. This is technically, they're doing the community garden, which is technically in District 4. But if enough people come, they're going to split into 2 groups and also do the Franklin community garden.
I know there's a Franklin one. I know there's a Maeser one. I know there's multiple within the
I think they said Franklin. So if enough people come up, so there's flyers down at the table. So if you're free on March 29th, if they get, BYU is putting this on. If they get enough people, then they'll also do Franklin, and then we can count that towards our service hours.
That would be
for
great.
Our matching grant. And speaking of Memorial Park, in a past meeting, someone had mentioned using matching grant funds to maybe along the walking path have a little things about maybe people that have served from Provo, kind of like Lions Park has about nature trail. Something like that. So just an idea that came from a previous meeting.
Cool. Do we have anything else? We are past time, but if you do have something you really want to, okay, what's that? we have a request for a porta potty at Memorial Park during the summertime. We can just log that at this point. I don't know whether that'd be happening at this point. Yeah. That was, yeah, we have had a lot of time about 1 year ago. There was a lot of time given to discussion of bathrooms there. So I think we're going to be going ahead and closing. We're happy for people to keep talking for a little while until they need to kick us out of the building, which will happen at some point. So thank you so much for coming. And our next meeting is in 3 months. We have quarterly meetings at this time. June 18th will be the next meeting of this type. Thank you. But you can get a hold of, you can be able to contact the city in the meantime before that. And if there are certain issues within our community or within our district, I know that Rachel Breen has been very good at getting them to the executive board so that we can know whether to get them on the agenda here. Thank you.